I found a $12,000 charge on my card. When I asked my sister, she said, "Don't ruin the vibe. My name is Rachel, and I live with my sister, Lauren. After our parents passed, we kept the old house instead of selling it. It felt like the one piece of family we had left, so we decided to share it. We split the rooms, shared the kitchen, and tried to live like grown adults. At least, that's how I thought it was going. One evening, I sat at the table with a cup of coffee and opened my online bank account to make a routine payment. That's when I noticed it, a charge I didn't recognize. Not just $100 here or $200 there, $12,000. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. I refreshed the page. It was still there, $12,000, sitting like a punch in the gut. My first thought was fraud. Someone must have stolen my information. My heart pounded as I scanned the details. Then something stood out. The purchases weren't random. They were at stores Lauren loved. High-end boutiques, jewelry places, and a couple of luxury lifestyle spots she had mentioned before. My stomach sank. I walked down the hallway, past the photos of our parents, and into the living room where Lauren was stretched out on the couch, scrolling through her phone like life was perfect. I held my laptop in one hand, still staring at the statement on the screen. "Lauren," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Did you use my card?" She glanced up, eyes half-lidded, and gave a lazy little smile. "What are you talking about? There's a $12,000 charge. Jewelry stores. Designer boutiques. You didn't think I'd notice." My voice cracked at the end, half with anger, half with disbelief. She shrugged, sat up, and tossed her hair back. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, come on, Rachel. Don't ruin the vibe." I just stood there frozen. My sister had taken $12,000 from me and brushed it off like it was nothing more than a parking ticket. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. The thing is, it wasn't just about the money. I could work extra hours, tighten my budget, maybe even recover from this blow. What I couldn't recover from was the way she looked me in the eyes and dismissed it, like my trust and my hard work didn't matter. $12,000 gone, and the only thing she cared about was keeping her vibe. In that moment, sitting across from my own sister in the house that used to feel like home, I realized something sharp and ugly. The betrayal hurt more than the bill. Growing up with Lauren was like living in two different worlds under the same roof. I was the one who made lists, saved receipts, and worried about deadlines. She was the one who lived like tomorrow would magically fix itself. From the time we were kids, I knew she saw the world differently than I did. When we were teenagers, she blew her allowance on makeup and clothes the same day she got it, while I tucked mine away in a little jar. I remember one summer when she borrowed money from me every single week, swearing she'd pay me back once she hit it big babysitting. She never did. By the time we were in college, it wasn't babysitting anymore. It was credit cards, unpaid tickets, and overdue bills. I can still picture the night she called me crying because her car had been towed. She didn't have the money, so I pulled cash out of my savings and bailed her out. Another time, her credit card was maxed out, and she begged me to cover her half of the rent. She promised it was the last time. I wanted to believe her, so I said yes. But the truth was that last time happened over and over again. When our parents died and left us the house, I thought maybe things would change. I thought sharing that home would give us both a chance to grow up, to be equal. But the pattern just kept repeating itself. I handled the mortgage, the utilities, even groceries most weeks. If she pitched in, it was always late or less than her share. She'd say things like, "I'll make it up to you next month," or "I just need to get back on track." But the next month never came. Sometimes I wondered if she even realized how much I carried for her. Maybe she did, and maybe that was the worst part, knowing she saw me as someone who would always clean up after her. I would come home from a long day of work and see packages on the porch with her name on them. Shoes, handbags, gadgets. Things she didn't need. She would smile and show them off like a kid at Christmas, while I silently did the math in my head, wondering how to stretch my paycheck. The more I thought about that $12,000 charge, the clearer everything became. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a slip-up. It was exactly who Lauren had always been, reckless, thoughtless, and comfortable letting me carry the weight. She hadn't just borrowed my card. She had counted on me not doing anything about it, the same way she had counted on me to cover her rent, her tickets, her debts. For years, I told myself she would grow out of it, that one day she'd wake up and take responsibility. But staring at that charge, remembering all those times I had bailed her out, I finally understood. She wasn't going to change. She didn't have to, not as long as I kept saving her. The money stung, but what cut deeper was the realization that Lauren wasn't just careless. She was taking advantage of me, and she knew it. I waited until later that night to bring it up again. Lauren was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, the TV glowing in front of her. A half-empty glass of wine sat on the coffee table, and she looked perfectly at ease, like she didn't have a single worry in the— Meanwhile, I couldn't think about anything except the numbers burned into my head. $12,000. I walked over and stood near the couch, holding my laptop against my chest. "Lauren," I said. My voice came out sharper than I meant. She turned lazily, eyes heavy from drinking, but she still gave me a wide smile. "Round 2 already?" she said, chuckling. "You've got to stop obsessing over this. You'll give yourself wrinkles." I ignored her joke and pulled the laptop open, holding it out so she couldn't pretend not to see. "Tell me exactly what this money went to. Line by line." "12,000, Lauren. I want the truth." She sighed and pulled the blanket tighter around herself, like I was annoying her. "Rachel, you act like I blew it all at a casino. I didn't. It's for us. You'll thank me later." "For us?" My throat tightened. "Go on. I want to hear how you think this is for me." Her eyes lit up, and she launched into it like she had rehearsed the story. "Some of it went to furniture. That old couch creaks every time someone sits down, and the chairs in the dining room are falling apart. I figured we deserved something nice. Then I bought a few clothes. Don't roll your eyes, because you never spend money on yourself. You wear the same shoes until they're falling apart. I thought it was time you had something better. And," she paused for dramatic effect, "I booked a little getaway. A weekend trip, just the two of us. Somewhere relaxing. You've been stressed for months, and I wanted to do something special." She said it with such confidence, like she was the hero of the story. For a second, I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. I flipped the screen toward myself and scrolled. "Furniture stores? Really? Because what I see here is jewel and stone fine jewelry. Luxe boutique. Platinum threads. Designer shops. Thousands of dollars on things you'd never buy for me, only for yourself." Lauren's smile faltered, just for a moment, but then she recovered. She sat up straighter, her voice rising. "Okay, fine. Yes, some of it was for me. So what? You're acting like I bought a yacht. I got us a few nice things. You're welcome." My stomach churned. "You're welcome? You stole from me, Lauren." That's when she leaned forward, her eyes narrowing, her tone sharpening into something cold. "God, you're overreacting. Money comes and goes, Rachel. Don't you get that? But sisters are forever. What's the point of having family if you can't lean on them once in a while?" The way she said it made me want to scream. I took a step back, pressing the laptop against me like a shield. "You didn't lean on me. You used me. You didn't even ask. You just did it because you knew I'd clean up the mess." She threw her hands up. "That's what you're good at. You've always been the responsible one. You save, you plan, you think about everything. Me? I live in the moment. And you know what? That's why we balance each other. You worry too much, I loosen things up. You should be thanking me for making life less boring." Her words hit me like poison. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even trying to. She truly believed she was entitled to take what she wanted, because I'd figure it out later. The rage inside me burned hotter than I'd ever felt before. She didn't see me as her sister. She saw me as a cushion, a wallet, a safety net she could fall on whenever she felt like it. I stared at her, the glow of the TV flickering across her face. She looked calm, smug even, sipping her wine as though she had just won some argument. But all I could see was a stranger sitting there, a stranger who happened to share my last name. And for the first time, I knew this wasn't about money anymore. It was about respect, and she had none for me. I sat on the edge of my bed with my phone in my hand and dialed the bank. When the representative answered, I explained that there were charges on my account that I hadn't made. My voice was calm, but my stomach was twisting. I gave the dates, the amounts, and the names of the stores. I didn't realize Lauren had been listening until I heard her behind me. "What the hell are you doing?" she shouted. I turned, startled, but kept the phone to my ear. "I'm fixing this," I said quietly. Her voice rose until it filled the room. "You're disputing it? You're actually doing this? You're ruining my life, Rachel. Do you even get that?" The bank representative asked if I wanted to continue the claim. My throat tightened. "I'll call back later," I said, and ended the call. The moment I set the phone down, Lauren's anger spilled over. She stormed into the room, her face twisted. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You're about to screw up everything. My credit, my future. It's all going to collapse because you couldn't just let this go." I stood up. "You mean because I couldn't ignore $12,000 stolen from me? You make it sound so ugly," she snapped. "I was going to pay it back eventually. But no, you have to go crying to the bank and act like the victim." Her words made my chest tighten, but before I could answer, she pressed on. "You think you're perfect, don't you? Like you've never messed up. Remember that internship you quit? You gave up because it was too hard. Remember that meeting at work when you froze and embarrassed yourself? You've failed plenty of times. The only difference is I don't drag your mistakes out every chance I get." I clenched my fists. She wasn't defending herself anymore. She was trying to tear me down. Those weren't failures, Lauren. They were challenges I had to face. And I handled them. The difference between us is that I learned from mine. You just keep repeating yours. Her face went red. You think you're better than me. Admit it. You've always looked down on me because I don't do things your way. I don't think I'm better than you, I said, my voice low but firm. I just think you've never respected me. Not once. For a second, she faltered, then quickly hardened her expression. You're making this about respect? Seriously? I'm your sister, Rachel. You're supposed to have my back. But you'd rather drag me down than stand beside me. I stared at her, and something inside me shifted. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about how little she valued me, how little she ever had. The charges were just the proof I needed. I've had your back for years, I said finally, and you've treated me like I'm nothing but a safety net. That ends now. She opened her mouth to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. I walked past her, phone still in my hand, heart pounding in my chest. For the first time, I knew I wasn't going to bend. Lauren wasn't just careless, she was cruel. And this time, I wasn't going to save her. I stopped arguing with Lauren after that fight. I didn't yell, I didn't explain, and I didn't try to make her understand anymore. I just went quiet. On the outside, I acted calm, but inside, every thought I had was sharp and steady. If she wanted to treat me like a safety net, then I was going to cut the strings. The first thing I did was pull out every bill and statement I had kept over the years. I sat on my bedroom floor late at night, stacking papers into neat piles. Mortgage payments, utilities, credit card records. All of them showed the same thing. I was the one keeping the house running while Lauren spent money we didn't have. I highlighted charges, made copies, and tucked them away in a folder that I locked inside my desk drawer. During my breaks at work, I called the bank again. This time I made sure Lauren wasn't anywhere near me. I explained what had happened in detail and asked about freezing my card so it couldn't be used again. The woman on the line guided me through each step, and I set up protections so Lauren wouldn't be able to touch a single dollar of mine. I even asked about monitoring for future charges, something I had never bothered with before. By the time I hung up, I felt a weight lifting from my chest. For once, she wasn't ahead of me. At home, I started making changes too. I put a lock on my bedroom door and kept the key on me at all times. My jewelry, personal papers, even small things like my laptop and wallet went inside. I didn't leave anything out anymore, not even spare change on the dresser. In the kitchen, I separated the groceries I bought from hers. If she wanted something, she had to get it herself. The shared accounts we had set up for convenience were the next to go. I went to the bank in person and had my name removed or closed them entirely, making sure every penny tied to me was secure. No more borrowing. No more excuses. At first, Lauren didn't seem to notice. She lounged on the couch, scrolled through her phone, and acted like nothing had changed. But slowly, I caught the way her eyes lingered when she saw me carrying my locked folder from one room to another. I noticed her tugging at the cabinet doors in the kitchen, realizing there was less food she could help herself to. One night she reached for the remote and saw I had taken the streaming subscriptions off the joint account. Her smile faltered for the first time. "Why are you being weird lately?" she asked one evening, her voice casual but her eyes tight. I just shrugged. "I'm busy." That was all I gave her. No explanation, no argument, no chance for her to twist it around. The silence unsettled her. She paced more, hovered near my door when she thought I wasn't paying attention, and started asking questions about my day that she had never cared about before. I could feel her nervousness growing with each locked drawer, each canceled account, each small wall I built between us. For the first time, she was the one uneasy in this house. And for the first time, I felt like I had control. Lauren came to me a few days later, her voice soft, her eyes wide like she was a child asking for forgiveness. She sat on the arm of the couch where I was reading and let out a dramatic sigh. "Rachel," she said gently, "I know I messed up. I shouldn't have used your card without asking. I swear I'm going to pay it all back soon. Just give me a little time." Her words were smooth, rehearsed almost, but her face didn't match. Her eyes kept shifting, like she couldn't hold my gaze for long. I closed my book, looked at her for a second, and then simply nodded. I didn't argue, didn't ask questions. That seemed to throw her off more than if I had shouted. Over the next week, her behavior grew stranger. I noticed things going missing from the house. An old watch of hers, a designer bag she used to flaunt, even a piece of jewelry our mother had left her. At first, I thought she was cleaning out her room, but then I saw her slipping into the pawn shop down the street one evening when she thought I wasn't watching. She also started taking calls in the hallway, her voice lowered to a whisper. I caught fragments. "I'll get it soon, and just wait a few more days." When I walked into the room, she would hang up quickly and act like nothing happened. At night, I'd hear the front door click shut long after midnight. She would creep back in before dawn, smelling faintly of smoke and perfume. I didn't confront her. Instead, I wrote everything down. Dates, times, what I saw, what I heard. I even kept receipts when I noticed her pawning thing. Every detail went into the same folder where I had stored the bank statement. The silence between us grew heavier. Meals were eaten in separate rooms. Passing each other in the hallway felt like brushing against a live wire. She tried to act cheerful sometimes, tossing fake smiles my way or making small talk, but the cracks showed. She was nervous. Her jokes were forced, her laughter too loud, and she couldn't hide the way her hands shook when she thought I wasn't looking. One evening, she finally snapped. I was sitting in the living room, going over some notes from work, when she stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. "You've changed," she said suddenly. Her tone was sharp, defensive. "You're turning into a stranger in this house. I don't even recognize you anymore." I set my papers down slowly and met her eyes. She expected me to argue, maybe to cry or explain myself. Instead, I just smiled. Her face tightened. "What's so funny?" "Nothing," I said softly. "Nothing at all." That answer unsettled her more than anything else I could have said. She muttered something under her breath and stormed off to her room, slamming the door so hard the picture frames on the wall rattled. I sat back and breathed in the silence. The house felt tense, ready to crack open at any moment, but I stayed calm. Lauren thought I was drifting away from her, becoming someone she couldn't control. She was right, and the more she slipped, the more certain I became that she had no idea what was waiting for her. I waited until the right moment. Lauren had just come home, dropping her bag by the door like she always did. She looked tired but still carried that careless air, as if nothing in the world could touch her. I had been preparing for this for weeks, keeping every document and note in a neat folder that never left my side. Tonight, I set it down on the coffee table in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, frowning. "Sit down," I said calmly. My voice surprised even me. It was steady, almost cold. She hesitated, but eventually sank onto the couch. I opened the folder and began laying out the papers one by one. "This," I said, tapping the bank statement, "is the list of charges you made with my card. Jewelry, designer clothes, expensive dinners. $12,000 worth." She rolled her eyes. "We've been over this, Rachel." I cut her off by sliding another paper across the table. "And this is the receipt from the pawn shop where you sold Mom's bracelet last week. You said you'd never part with it, but here's the proof. And these," I held up a stack of notes. "These are dates and times of all the calls you made and the nights you snuck out. Every single one." For the first time, her face paled. She reached for the papers, but I pulled them back. "Rachel, please," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "This looks worse than it is. I didn't mean for things to get out of hand." I leaned forward. "Stop. Don't spin another story. I've got the facts. This is what you've done. There's no excuse left." Her eyes filled with tears, and she clutched her hands to her chest. "You don't understand. I was trying to fix things, to handle everything myself. And now you're here, cornering me like I'm some criminal. You're my sister. How can you be so heartless?" The words were sharp, meant to cut, but I didn't flinch. I just kept my gaze on her and slid the folder shut. "This isn't me being heartless. This is me showing you reality. You've lied, you've stolen, and you've treated me like a fool. That stops tonight." She shook her head, tears running down her cheeks now. "You used to defend me. You used to protect me. What happened to that Rachel?" I stood, the folder in my hands again. "That Rachel got tired of being used. That Rachel is gone." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked at me like she was finally seeing someone she didn't recognize. The silence stretched until it was almost unbearable. Lauren wiped at her face, but the tears kept coming. For the first time, she wasn't laughing, wasn't smirking, wasn't brushing things off with an excuse. She looked small, fragile, and shaken. And in that moment, I knew she understood. She wasn't in control anymore. The next morning, I made the final cuts. I called the bank and confirmed every joint account was closed. Lauren's name was removed from anything that connected to my finance. No credit cards, no shared bills, nothing. If she wanted money now, she would have to find it on her own. After that, I scheduled a meeting with a lawyer. I explained the situation from the beginning, laying out how I had been the one paying the mortgage, utilities, and upkeep on the house while Lauren did nothing. The lawyer listened carefully and said there might be a way to challenge her claim since she hadn't contributed a cent. Just hearing those words felt like a breath of fresh air. When Lauren realized what I was doing, she exploded. She stood in the living room, fists clenched, eyes burning with rage. "You're destroying my life," she screamed. "You're cutting me off like I'm some stranger. This is my house too, Rachel." I stayed calm, my voice level. "If it's really your house, then you should have treated it like one. You haven't paid for anything here. Not one bill. Not one repair. You've lived off me for years, and that ends now." Her face twisted with anger. "Fine. Maybe I'll just leave then. Maybe you'll regret pushing me out." I looked her straight in the eye. "Go ahead. That stopped her for a moment. She wasn't expecting me to call her bluff. She stood frozen, shaking with anger, before grabbing her bag and storming out the door. I followed her to the entryway, waited until she was gone, and then turned the lock. The sound of the deadbolt sliding into place filled me with a relief I hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, the house felt quiet, steady, and safe. I stood there for a while, my hand still on the lock, and realized I wasn't scared of her anymore. The weeks that followed felt strange at first. The house was quieter, lighter, like a weight had been lifted from the air. But there was still work to do. I wasn't finished yet, not until everything was sealed for good. I met with the lawyer again, this time with all the paperwork I had collected. We went over the bills, the bank statements, the mortgage payments, and every record that proved I had been the one keeping the house alive. It took time, but eventually the deed was changed. Lauren's name was no longer tied to the home. On paper and in reality, it was mine alone. At the same time, I made sure to protect myself financially. I filed reports on the fraudulent charges, providing the bank with every piece of evidence. They assured me the responsibility would fall back on her, not me. That meant creditors would come looking for her, not knocking on my door. For the first time in years, I felt like my future was protected. Lauren didn't stay away long. One afternoon, I heard a knock on the door. When I opened it, she was standing there looking thinner, worn down, and desperate. Her eyes were red like she had been crying for hours. "Rachel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I messed up. I know I did. Please just give me one more chance. I'll make it right this time." I didn't invite her in. I stayed in the doorway, my hand firm on the frame. I thought about all the times I had bailed her out before, all the promises she had made and broken. This time felt no different. "You made your choices," I said quietly, "and I made mine." She reached for me, clutching at my arm like a child afraid of being left behind. "You're my sister. You can't just shut me out like this." I pulled away. I already did. The look on her face was raw, a mix of shock and disbelief. For a moment, I thought she might push past me, but then her shoulders slumped. She turned and walked down the steps slowly, like every step cost her something. I closed the door behind her and locked it. I leaned against the wood, my chest tight. It wasn't guilt pressing on me. It was something sharper, deep. A kind of pain that came from cutting a cord that had been tangled around me my whole life. She had drained me, used me, betrayed me, and for years I had let it happen. Ending it hurt, but it was the kind of hurt that came with healing. For the first time, I was free. I used to believe family meant staying loyal no matter what. Our parents always said sisters should stand by each other, and for years I thought that meant forgiving Lauren over and over. I thought I was being strong by holding things together. But I finally saw the truth. Family isn't an excuse for letting someone tear you down. Lauren never wanted a sister. She wanted someone to rescue her whenever she fell, someone to clean up the mess she left behind. I was never treated like an equal, only as a safety net. And I let her do it until I had nothing left to give. Cutting her out hurt. Some nights I lay awake remembering our childhood, the silly games, the laughter at the dinner table, the way we used to whisper secrets before bed. Those moments still lived in me, but they were tangled with years of betrayal and disappointment. Every time I thought about opening the door to her again, those memories of lies and selfishness reminded me why I couldn't. One evening, I walked down the hallway of the house. The walls carried pieces of our past, family pictures, worn-out paint, little reminders of the life we once shared. I stopped in front of Lauren's room. The door was still there, closed since the day she left. I stood there quietly before reaching out. My hand pressed the knob, and I pulled the door shut until it clicked into place. The sound was sharp and final, as if the house itself knew it was over. I turned away and walked back through the rooms, each step steady. The house was mine now, and it felt different, calm, safe, and whole. Losing my sister was painful, but losing myself would have been worse. And I chose myself. What do you think? Was Rachel right to finally put herself first, even if it meant losing her sister? Or do you believe family bonds should never be broken, no matter what? Share your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear different perspectives. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you're here for the next one.